right, what's going on, guys? This is JD. I'm coming at you guys with our first talk show of ESO Talk. I'm here tonight with Ciphex and Core. We're going to talk about different things from the patch notes and what's coming up in the next patch, what we feel needs to be fixed in PvP, and whatever bullshit you think just needs to be changed in the game. And that's what we're looking at tonight. So we're going to go with that. And yeah, so anyways, Core. Ciphex, say what's up.
Hello.
What's up?
All right, yeah, what a nice what's up. That was fucking dandy. Anyways, all right, so I want to kind of like dive into the patch notes tonight and kind of go over, like what you guys feel about the sustain issues. And I know there's a lot of people bitching, whether it's on the forums or just in game in general, just complaining about, oh, they're completely getting rid of sustain. The game's fucked. I'm never gonna be able to play this game anymore. Blah blah blah. I mean, what's y'all's take on it? Let's hear it. So, Cyphex, what do you have to say, man?
So, I feel like sustain overall in the game is pretty well overkill, right?
I'll agree with that.
I I think whether it has to do with CP or non-CP, if you look at things like the Argonian potion passive, which is completely overlooked by a lot of people, it's getting buffed this patch, by the way. Um, you double the effectiveness of tripods. It's now going to be even further. Um, when I look at the armor changes, I think that they completely overlooked what I feel is the strongest thing about heavy armor, and that's the rapid mending passive. It returns extra resources when you do fully charged heavy attacks, and even though they nerfed this with Homestead patch, it's still by far the strongest thing as far as sustain goes with heavy armor. Um, and especially like when I'm healing on my Magplar in our small group play, I'll heavy attack with my sword and board, restore some stamina. I'll heavy attack with my resto, restore like half of my magic. You know what I mean? So while I feel there are issues currently with the sustain, I don't think they've fully been addressed. I think when you look at things like changes to repentance, um, it it kind of defeats a reward risk system with the game. You don't really get a reward for risking something and killing like a bunch of things and getting a whole bunch of stamina back to your party. You don't really get the reward for skilled play. Um, it's more just simplifying. They're just addressing cost. Really, they're not addressing tactical play. Um, and I
Well,
feel like in the hands of a good player, the sustain issues aren't really touched from what I've experienced.
but so like, I mean, on the contrary though, when you look at the patch notes, they sit there and say, okay, well, our way of addressing, you know, issues in general with the game currently is that we're gonna add cost back into the game. Which, but
Hmm.
then in turn, you also look at the notes, and they're also reducing cost on certain abilities, so they're kind of like negating that fact with certain spammable abilities. Like for instance, with DK, it's going to be whip. I mean,
Hmm.
other classes it's going to be something different. Now, of course, we know Templar is taking the biggest nerf this patch, which I'm not going to argue with that at all. But I mean, I don't dismiss the fact that adding a increased cost to everything is going to, I guess you could say, make people play differently, because I think it's going to, like, when you go into Azura's, if you have somebody spamming constantly, like, it's going to be a whole nother ball game. You're going to run out of resources so quick your head's going to spin. But like in a CP campaign where you got so much cost reduction, I mean, shit, man, my whip cost almost 1,200. You know what I'm saying? Like that's ridiculous. Like I can sustain for days on that. And I don't know. I feel like that's a big issue, Now, I don't know if you agree with that or if you disagree. I mean, what are you thinking? Are you agreeing with the changes, like they're going to help out gameplay, or they're not going to help out gameplay? Now, of course, this is going to be different for PvE and PvP, but I'm kind of like leaning towards PvP at the moment. We can dive into PvE here in a minute.
Fair enough. So a couple things. You said Templars took the biggest hit this patch. I would agree. I would say that I do not like the idea of what I see on paper with the changes to shards and orbs. You take away class identity, right? It's a very unique skill that gives Templars something to identify them by, right? Something it's a utility that they bring to the group and a reason to have one with you. Um, and they keep notching out those sorts of solutions instead of giving more utility to other classes. Like, um, if you look at Nightblade, right? It's a very very greedy class. They don't have a lot of group utility. That's why you don't really see them running in groups. You don't see them in trials. You don't see them anywhere really other than solo ganking.
Right,
Maybe
right.
maybe like
Sorry for the Mage blade here and there.
right. But then on the other side of that, certain abilities they are reducing the cost of executioner. I feel like executioner was in a good. It did feel a little expensive if you had to hit someone a couple of times, but then at the same time you really shouldn't be executing them, in my opinion. Um, they increased the cost of vigor enormously, which I
But
think is a great
yeah, I was
change.
gonna
I
say I
think,
don't argue with that at all, man. I think
yeah,
it's a
no,
really
like
good change.
stamina.
A little
Stamina
overpowered, man. Little
is
overpowered, bro. In my opinion.
in
My
the
opinion.
in the current state of Homestead, yeah. Stamina I'd say is a bit overpowered and in PvP. That's an important distinction. In PvE they're almost non-existent.
Right, right. It's
So,
Magic meta in
um
PvE.
yeah, so it is nice to see that they do have us to exist. I will say that. Um as far as the vigor change is concerned, I like the cost increase. It furthers tanks in PvE as well. I guess touching back on PvE, um, they can alleviate a lot of pressure from healers spamming vigor. So it's something I do. It's a great heal for the group, right? And it makes healing a lot easier, which it's already really easy. So I like that they're adding a degree of difficulty back into the game, and I like that they're adding some element of skill in the game while at the same time I'm disappointed that they are um how do I put this? They're reducing the opportunities for skillful play, but the skillful play that you can do is more successful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so Core, I want to touch base with you too, man. What do you think about sustain changes? Are you liking them? Are you disliking them? What do you think it's happening right now?
I think there'll be an overall benefit for everyone in the player base simply because we have really high end damage right now. I mean, there's trial groups finishing in a retarded amount of time. PvP, you can go and get ganked by a heavy armor build in like 2 seconds. I also wanted to touch on the fact that people are not going well. Like I was talking to you earlier on today, JD. There's a psychological effect with this. Whenever you have a nerf, your immediate reaction is just to give up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're seeing that with Deltius right now. I think a lot of that has to do with the sustain changes. He's like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to play in PvP anymore. But that brings back that point that you brought up earlier about, the what is it, the selfishness of people in,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, just in general, right?
Yeah, but everyone's going to be affected by this. My top end damage is going to be affected. Your top end damage and sustain is going to be affected. Everyone's going to be kind of knocked down a peg. we're gonna have to run the sustain set and a damage set, or heal set, sustain set, whatever your role is in PvP or PvE. I think it will overall put us in a better place because we'll be, well, okay. So from a PvE perspective, the game is balanced around 300 CP.
Right.
So we're overpowered. So they need to bring it down, but they don't want it to lose CP because, like, how much CP you have right now? 769.
Right. Yeah.
What would you do if they took away your CP? Yeah, you'd be fucking
I'd
pissed.
be pissed.
Like,
yeah, I'd be pissed. I put 2 years into this game, and I've gained a lot of CP. And if they took it away from me, I'd be aggravated, man. And I think a lot of people would be on that train with me. So.
So I guess it's just a general note. Don't give up. Just run a sustain set. Everyone's gonna have their damage knocked off. Everyone's gonna have their healing knocked off as well. If you want, I can touch on Templar a little bit since I'm my main heal.
Yeah, man. I mean, let's hear it. What do you think is going to happen with the healing for Templar, man?
So we're gaining a few percentages with the passive in restoring light. Of course, that's not 25% as a major mending, but we're also gaining minor mending, which I think is 10%. I can't remember. Like, I never really worried about it.
Yeah, it's
so
right
overall
around
we're not.
5, yeah. So you're going to be gaining.
Overall,
a full 20%. Full, I think. It's about 20.
Okay, so we're losing about 20%. Oh well. I don't know if one of you were in that. It was like a AA run. What's the one with the mage at the very end?
Yeah, the AA. Yeah.
I don't know if you were there, Ciphex, but I was the only healer left alive. There's like 10 other people. I was doing 100k heals per second. This is like V14.
Yep.
I had no sustain issues whatsoever. It's retarded. Like.
Yeah, I mean, I PvE healed trials a lot, and I mean, I'm not running Frothgar. I'm running Bistat food. I'm running the Thief. I'm not running Atro. Like, I mean,
but you're probably over healing anyway. So I think a lot of healers are gonna.
Yeah.
They'll notice weaker heals, but the thing is, you just on your sustain more, then you'll have more heals. Like, who cares?
These are things that needed to be addressed though a long time ago. I mean, like for me, you guys know, man. I've been in PvP for a year and a half, something like that, and I mean, what it comes down to is like I see a Templar just drop their rune, drop their purify, and just stand in it, and you can't do anything. It takes like 10, 15 people to take them down. And I brought this up a year ago when they first buffed Templar, and I said, okay, guys, like Zos. Let's be honest here. Where do you not see the problem where you're buffing a healing class into doing damage? At that point, you're going to cause a problem. And so now you have them overbuffed where they're getting, not only they're getting, major mending, but they're also getting minor mending at the same time and still healing through anything you're doing to them. And then on top of that, they got to purify on demand. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's too powerful. PvE, that's more y'all's spectrum. You guys know a little bit more about that than I do, but I mean that's just where I'm sitting. It's like, come on.
I actually think that
So
PvP, the power of the light and its other more backlash, whatever, it needs to go away, in my opinion. I don't know how y'all feel about that.
I agree.
But,
power of the light's too.
Yeah.
It's too strong.
Yes, it's way too strong.
I think it needs to be adjusted. I wouldn't say it needs to go away. I think it's as somebody who's played Stamplar a little, like, pretty frequently lately. I'm a new Stamplar, admittedly. I can say that it functions similarly to a Sork's Curse, right? So people can talk about Curse and its level of balance all they want as well, right? But as far as PvP is concerned, I feel like it's a key component to a lot of Stamplar burst, and I think it would be a detriment to the class to see that leave it.
It is, but I mean, they are taking major mending away, so, but you're gaining some healing percentage back. I think that they should actually take that burst away, and the reason being is because, I mean, I have footage of me taking on 10 guys and killing them all with my Magplar set up in PvP.
Exactly. I mean, why not? Okay, at least make it blockable. You know what I'm saying? At least make it
Oh yeah,
blockable.
absolutely.
You know what I'm
I was
saying?
pissed when they made burst not blockable. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah,
it's.
it should totally be blockable.
I mean, it's like, come on. Thinking when we add these attributes into the game, where we're like, okay, well, we're gonna go ahead and make it to where we're going to deal with block is we're just going to make stuff unblockable. Okay, yeah, because that's not going to cause a problem across the board, right? I mean, we're not just looking
It
at
should totally be blockable.
yeah, we're not just
I
looking
mean,
at
it's
DK
like,
problems.
come on, guys. Like,
It's
what were
it's
we
problems
thinking
across the
when we
board, man. It's okay. We're looking at okay, well now Sword can't block it. Nightblade can't block it. Whatever have you. They just can't block it. Like that's a serious issue. Like even on the Sork, like I always relied on being able to block Curse or I mean shit now even Power of
Mhm.
Light, but I haven't been on Sork in God only knows how long. So
Well, and I think something else notable that you touched on was like sustains. You were talking about PvE, right? And just tanking and being able to block things and whatnot. Even in PvP, I can perma block on a Templar, a Magicka Templar, and so next patch they are going to cut the block cooldown in half, which I think is great. I think in PvP it's gonna stop a lot of perma blocking builds. You're gonna force a lot of people to go back to that heavy attacking and dropping their block, which will it'll open up some opportunity to burst those perma blocking
Hmm.
breath of life swing assholes.
but what
I
about what
also think it'll bring build variety. I mean, I don't know if y'all have really thought about that or not either.
you know what?
I
Maybe
I feel
maybe
like I run
it'll
across the same cookie cutter builds all the time.
I mean,
maybe,
I feel like it's still gonna be that way. I don't know why it wouldn't be. Like,
well, what
there's
about
always gonna be something odd.
Footman coming back out of the woodwork? I don't know what you guys think about that. Footman, you remember that
Yeah.
old set?
So,
Dude, I
yeah.
used to run out on V10 like a Nightblade tank. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So, like, that was something else I wanted to. You were talking about tanking in PvE a second ago. Like, I mean, this character right here. This is my main tank. Like, this is my character, and I'm wearing Ebon Alkosh. Right. It's very typical of a main tank. Right now, I'm running the Mighty Chuden set with it to give me a free bar slot for vigor. Right.
So are you
So
saying you want to
I'm
see
literally
some diversity? Is that what I'm hearing right now?
N-
Is that you don't want to
no
be
no no no.
pigeonholed in that build?
What I'm saying is I'm running a DPS set on a tank. I'm running a set that gives me a buff that I already have, and I'm running a set that literally gives me nothing but health just so that I can help out my group. I literally have nothing invested into tanking other than CP and enchantment. Everything else is just pure group utility. I don't actually have to work to tank. And I mean, given all the synergies that are out there with the Undaunted Command passive, which I feel is a bit strong and probably needs to be addressed rather than dealing with like shards and orbs, combining two synergies. I don't know who came up with that idea. Like, why did you give two separate synergies the same
Yeah.
cooldown?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
I
fucking
mean-
ridiculous.
I agree with that because it's kind of like okay.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, then you're going okay. Well, you can only have one type of healer in the group. Well, it's like okay, but you're trying to say okay. Well, we want multiple kinds of healers in the group. Well, why not add the double synergy in there? But then they're gonna be like, oh, well then Templar would be too strong because then it could do shard and orb. Well, okay, who cares at that point?
Well,
It's
I mean, it goes back to what I said about buffing other classes, right? Like Nightblade's a greedy class. A lot of people like being a Nightblade healer. Give them something that can give other people, like maybe that should have been the siphoning attacks change. Maybe you can give other people stamina back. You know what I mean? In
yeah,
your party.
Mhm.
Or,
exactly.
like, it feels like the game, instead of trying to bring the things that are underperforming up to par, they keep bringing the things that are overperforming down. And
I mean, that's cool because remember the game is 300 CP balance, so
Yeah,
it
yeah.
does
I mean,
need to be brought down.
I mean, they could just buff everything else though. Like,
Well, but then we have the same issue where
Yeah.
we're
exactly.
content is too easy.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
See,
no, no.
see
They
what
get
no,
just buff the content.
but what he's
Like,
saying, no, no, no. But what
Oh
he's
yeah, I mean they
saying though,
could. Yeah.
but then you have an issue, right? So you buff content. Well, then you got to go back over to PvP, right? Because we're not talking about two separated spectrums. We're talking about one whole spectrum
mhm.
that gets buffed all together, all at once. You know, and that comes
Yeah.
back to a ZOS issue, right? So
Well,
where
I think that comes to a game issue.
well, no, but it
But
comes to a
continue.
ZOS programming issue where they're not separating PvP from PvE, which is where a lot of the
Hmm.
underlying issue is with a lot of their buffs and debuffs or whatever. And so,
Mhm.
like, I feel like what they should do is instead of bringing the tempo up, let's take the tempo down to a level point. Because if we look at the base game was great. There's no issues with the base game. The issue comes in when CP starts getting involved.
Permabets.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on. Okay, there are a few adjustments. Okay, Core, a few adjustments need to
Yeah,
be
I'm
need
just
to be.
messing. I'm just messing with you, bro.
But I mean, all in all, though, like CP really is the problem, and it needs to be fixed. We need to look at it and say, okay, well, how can we fix this issue without, undermining the rest of the game? And so that's where I feel like a lot of people are looking at everything that's going on and going, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to deal with these sustain issues. No, okay, well, in trials, you're going to have to now work mechanics. I understand that you might be upset about that,
Hmm.
but deal with it. You're going to have to work mechanics. I
Standard
kind
red.
yeah, let's stand. Everybody stand in red. Piss your healer off, please. I've done it before. Core was there. I think Michi did it worse, but we'll let that
Speaking of
be.
such, Breath of Life directional healing is gonna be awesome.
I
Because if
love
you
it.
stand in the red, I'm gonna let you die.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
yeah. Well, and that's like, so not only that, but like I know it cuts off about 8% of the Templar healers that are just blindly keeping people alive while they're standing in a room.
That's a more
Like,
significant change for PvP, really, to be honest. That
yeah,
gives
yeah, yeah. Well, and even like PvE. I mean,
hmm
Well, I mean,
good healers
in
don't really
PVE,
use
it's
Breath
See,
of
like,
Life that much anyway.
in PVE,
so
it's gonna put the
PvP,
idiots
someone could
out.
root my ass. Someone could root me in place and start pegging on the dude behind me, and I can't Breath of Life him. That's good.
Hmm.
That's good skill, because
Yeah,
he knows my
yeah.
Breath of Life won't get him.
Right.
So,
So I'm glad they're opening that up.
so I want to touch base with you guys too, and I want to talk about the sustain changes to light armor, medium armor, heavy armor. Of course, we all know needed to be changed. It's way too OP. That's in a PvP standpoint. Of course, PvE, it's nobody's gonna wear heavy armor unless you're a tank. But I mean,
I think
regardless,
it'll still be the two.
I still think heavy armor is too OP. I think it needed a massive nerf. But I do not like the changes to light and medium armor. I think that them nerfing the reduction cost on the two armors, I think that's a little overboard. I mean, what do you guys think about that? What do you guys think?
What was the percentage from medium armor?
So we're
Like I know it's
losing.
2 to 3% now.
It's
So
one
we're
percent
yeah,
piece
it's a
for both.
1% per
Hmm.
piece is
Oh,
the
down
full
from two to
loss.
two to
Yeah,
three. Okay.
yeah. So overall, you're going to get a 1% loss across the board if you're wearing full. Well, it doesn't matter how much
No, no,
medium.
no. 1% per piece.
Per
Yeah,
per piece.
1% per
So if you're
piece.
running a 5, you'd be losing 5%.
Right,
Hmm.
right. And I think that's a little overboard.
On
That's
on
that's
top of on
I mean
top
that's
of the
that's
cost
going in.
reduction CD that
Yeah, I
you're
mean that's
losing.
going in line with their whole idea of hey, let's cut
User joined
sustainability a
your
lot.
channel.
But I think
Hello.
at this point, um, I think at this point though we're cutting too much into the base game. You know what I'm saying? Like instead, like we're not looking at the fact that CP is really causing the issue. We're looking at okay, well we just need a nerf, reduction across the board. Well, no, that's not the case. It's not just all reduction because then at that point, like look at people who run in Azuras. You run light armor because that's the only way you can sustain. Now you're reducing my reduction by 5% in Azuras. That's a problem. That's a serious
Hmm.
problem, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Yeah,
they're
I
not
was
paying attention to
watching.
that. Go ahead, Cyphex. What were you gonna
Yeah,
say
I
you were
was
watching?
checking out. No, you're good. I was checking out Fangrush's review a little bit, and he actually mentioned that they seem like they're balancing the game around CP, and if things are going the way that they seem they're going, right? Like so the CP campaign's always pop locked and True Flame's pop locked. Hatteras is dead, right? So you got these two booming campaigns. With the non-CP week, that was when we saw Azura's population rise. So I think a lot of people realized that PvP is more fun without CP. Um, we realized that Battlegrounds is going to be no CP. That's confirmed.
Right, right.
So the fact that they're balancing the game around CP, or at least it seems that way, it troubles me a little bit that they're looking for solutions in the wrong places.
Well, I mean, they're essentially adding soft caps in a way.
Yeah, and they're making max stat building less important.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you talked about, everyone's going to have to run sustain now, so damage is going to hopefully go down
Well,
a
it will
little bit.
definitely. I mean, unless you want to die within,
Yeah,
4 or 5
I
abilities.
mean, but here's the thing though. I still think heavy armor is going to go to in PvP, and here's why. So like you get the max health, you get better mitigation from resistances, you get better healing received, and you get better health recovery, which I mean, when we're small grouping, I'm running troll
don't forget
team
heavy tech.
Yeah, and not
and
only
and
that,
the
but
heavy attack, yeah, wrapping mending.
but what
So
we're putting into play too is then what's going to be the go-to? Everybody's just going to go to Black Rose. That's all that's going to happen because the sustain that you're now
eh,
getting
Kind of
in,
negates.
yeah, the
Yeah.
sustain you're getting in Rattle
I
Cage
mean,
and in Alteration Mastery is the same sustain you're going to get in Black Rose and Alteration Mastery. You're going to be just as OP because you're looking at a full damage drop across the board because now sustain's an issue.
ooh,
You see what I'm saying?
so
But everyone
here's
else's sustain for healing and mitigation is also affected. So
so here's the here's I guess the issue that I see with so Black Rose for Magicka builds could definitely see that. However, for stamina builds, Bone Pirate is still gonna give you better sustain next patch than Black Rose will, especially because they're nerfing Constitution and cost and not regen, even though they are nerfing Bone Pirate.
Right, right.
Um,
And they're also reducing all the
yeah,
abilities on
it's
the
ridiculous in
weapons
its current
too.
state. So that's why.
So I still see Stam
yeah.
still being on top
Um,
in the next patch, man. Honestly, to be totally honest, when you really review the notes, I really think that Stam's going to be still on top, man. Unfortunately.
in PvP, I would say yes and no. I would say for the most part, as far as DPS is concerned, yeah. Um, but Magistrok is still going to be very, very competitive. I don't want to say too much, right? I will say that Magistrok is going to still be very competitive. Um, Mage Nightblade, I think, got fucked. Looking at patch notes, I think we got like
Because of
robbed
the crit.
personally.
Yeah.
Well, not
No,
not
it's not the
just
crit.
not just that, but they promised like buffs and changes coming to Magic and Nightblade, and
Didn't
they
deliver.
did not. Yeah, they did not deliver that. That is for sure. So
Instead they
Um,
nerfed. Instead what they did was they just did like a broad nerf instead of kind of focusing on classes that were in need of help, which Magic and Nightblade was one of them. It's definitely underpowered. I don't know, man. I mean, I think the sustain nerf is a step in the right direction, but I think it's also like a drawback in the right direction at the same time, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. So just out of curiosity, JD, where would you like to see the game go? Like if you could make some changes.
If I
Just
c-
curiosity.
If I can make some changes, I would leave the base sustain on armor where it's at. I don't think it's in a bad spot. Now Constitution, that's a different story. That needs to be addressed. I think it's a little high. I think a 47% drop's a little high. I think maybe probably about like a 30%
It's
drop
42.
would be. What was that, Core?
It's 42 per next patch.
Is it 42? Okay, a 42% drop I
Mhm.
think is a little high. I think that I still think around a 20% to a 30% drop would be fine. I don't think a 40% drop's needed. Because I think at that point you're going to be kind of affecting tanks as a whole, which is, really affecting me because, as you all know, I like to tank. Um, but so that's also a biased opinion. But the direction I'd like to see is I really want to see CP be dealt with. I think damage is too high. Um, how to deal with those changes, man, I really don't know, man, because like there's so much
More soft
broken
caps.
stuff. Yeah, yeah, you know what? Bring soft caps back, actually, um, instead of just having hard caps. I think that would probably be the best bet, honestly, is soft caps. I mean, I think hard caps are it's too high at this point, and we have the ability to just cap so much. God, man, it's just everything can be capped so high. I mean, fuck. Anyways,
When that, I mean, I like that they're decentivizing max stats overall. I mean, I know that you've heard me comment on it messing. Like, I mean, I'm big on class identity, right? Like I mentioned with Templars, I think the max stat decentivation harms DKs the most. Not necessarily their ability, but when you're building them,
well,
I
so
mean, it
so I
feels
want
like there's
Well,
something missing from
I
the
want to touch
class.
I want to touch base with you guys since you guys know that DK is my class and that's what I run. You know, me personally, I'm not afraid of next patch. I think that Maj DK is in a good spot next patch. I don't think it's going to be really nerfed that much. I mean, as a matter of fact, we're getting actually quite a few buffs to Stam, which is really nice. But we're also getting the block nerf, which sucks. But
well, your return off of battle roar will actually be more because you shouldn't be stacking in stam anyway.
right.
So
So what do you? I mean,
that's how soft caps are good.
I brought
So
this.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry, man.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm the newest DK among the group here, I suppose. I've literally played my Stam DK, kind of hybrid DK in PvP, like 3 times. Today when I couldn't get back in TF with you guys, I went to Had, and I tanked 12 dudes
Yeah, you see
for
the
about
issue.
10 minutes.
You see the issue, and you don't even have
Yeah.
vigor. You see what I'm saying? Like you
No.
see the issue, right? That's what I'm saying. Like there's definitely an issue with Stam DK, and we've known that. I mean, you come across really good Stam DKs like Paco, or you're looking at man, what's that guy's name? I can't ever pronounce his name. Anyways, it's another really good Stam DK, and all they have to do is they run Troll King and run what is that fucking morph? Not Rally, but the other morph. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, forward momentum.
Yeah, Forward Momentum with Vigor, dude,
If
and
I
they're
had vigor, I'd run it
unstoppable.
too. Yeah.
They're unstoppable,
The
dude. You can't stop them. It's
The best Stam DK that comes to my mind is Yo Yui. For the record, I don't know if you've ever run into him, but
I've seen Yo-Yo. Yeah, that's
I've fought him
Jumbo,
when his
yeah.
two-hander build, but does he run a tank build at all or no?
Jumbo. I mean, he's the one that started the whole Black Rose Viper thing. So I mean, like offensive sword and board heavy armor, sure. I don't know that I'd call it a tank. I mean,
But I mean, regardless though, like they can be. I've seen these guys in medium armor just tanking people
Oh,
for
yeah.
days. Look at Jaeger. I mean, look
Yeah.
at Jaeger. I'm sorry, Jaeger is a prime example. I mean, that dude. I have seen him get in. I know that motherfucker will sit there and tell you, "Oh, I'm not a good Stam DK." Bullshit. Okay, like go
Well,
get
so-
out of here. I've seen him tank
so here's
so many people and just kill them too, man, left and right. It's ridiculous.
here's the other thing of Stam DK. I guess we should touch on. If you're in PvE and you're a tank and you're not a Stam DK, you're doing something wrong. Like just period, right? Like Nightblades can be fun, Blazing Shield Templars can be fun. At the end of the day, Stam DK is the best tank for a million reasons that I'm not even going to begin to list. That I mean, that in itself, I think should just say right there, like it self-sustaining in PvP as a Stam DK is a matter of cycling tripods and ultis and
Yeah.
holding block.
That's all it is.
It's really not that difficult.
I mean, it's
Um,
the same thing for Magi Decay, though, man. I mean, honestly, it's the same thing. I mean, it's like, okay, I'm running low on stam. Let me just hit bats, and then I can just sit there and get CC'd all day and just regain all my health. I mean, it's like it's
mhm.
the same thing. I mean, but I still feel like Magi Decay is not where it needs to be. I still feel like we're still in a bad spot, and I'm hoping with next patch, I think that's going to change. Anybody who runs a Magi Decay should know that as long as you run reduction on your jewelry, whether you're in Azura's or whether you're in True Flame, you're gonna be able to cast abilities. I mean, that's all it comes down to. If you're not running reduction, there's an issue. But I feel like Magi DK is in a great spot. I think that Stam DK needs a massive nerf, and thank God they're getting it. I'm so happy about the Templar nerf.
Mm.
I don't know. Ciphex, that's Psy. What do you think? I know you're not happy about the Stam DK nerf.
I mean, so I don't want to say too much, but I don't think Stam DKs have much to worry about, and I'll leave it at that.
Do we have any actual percentage on what the loss is? Like after, like on the notes it says blah 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 2680 800 stamina.
So
This will be a nerf if it's above that.
all they're saying on the notes
There aren't
is,
any.
yeah, there's no specific numbers. Which I was kind of disappointed about. I'd like to see a little bit more numbers because, I mean, me being the builder
Yeah,
that
man, I'll
I
run the
am,
math all day.
yeah, I
Yeah.
want to do the math, man. I want to know where these numbers are at. I mean, anybody who follows any of my builds, they know that I follow math and core. I mean, shit, man, you've been building forever, so. Um, but anyways, I want to move on a little bit too, and I want to talk about some gear changes, man. I mean, what are you guys thinking about the Fasala's change? Are you liking it? You not liking it? What do you think? What do you think, Core? What do you think about the
It wa-
Fasala's
it
change?
it was probably needed.
Little strong,
Um,
little strong.
yeah, bro. Like that's what I used to run with my Magpars, Fasalas, and Transmutation. Like, just mow people down.
Yeah, just put a little bit into
So
foul, and you're a fucking monster. Just a monster.
yeah, I mean that's the thing to look at, I think really. They befoul by a lot.
Yeah,
So um
but they also nerfed Major
I think
Mending
the minor
too.
defile
I mean,
they
Major Mending
did.
took a
And
big hit.
here's the other thing. They gave it minor defile. So now you can stack with major defile and do so pretty easily. Um
All you
I
need is
realize that
Durox
Fasala
Bane and
stacks with it
Fasalas.
right now. I realize that the Fasala's buff stacks right
The
now,
thing,
but if you want to run true heal debuff, right? You can still run Fasala's and Durox and just put points into Pafal, and you'll be at the same level.
So
It's
yeah, on your DK perhaps, but
uh,
a Templar, especially with the changes, is not going to be able to do that just from
well,
well,
okay.
personal
yeah. I mean,
gameplay
you
there.
you got to allocate your green tree, right? That's I mean
Mm-hmm.
a decision that you have to consciously make.
So,
So
so the only issue I'm seeing right now, though, is like, okay, so now we're stacking major defile and minor defile, but then we're not dealing with the purify issue. So now, see, like Fasalas right now can't be purified. You see what I'm saying? So the issue that we're gonna fall into next patch is now we're having, okay, well now they can purify major and minor defile. So where's that gonna leave us on the countering healing? Where's that gonna leave us in that spectrum? That's what I want to know.
well, mind you that Purge and the Templar extended ritual are not cheap purifies, and the
2300, 23 or 2323 right now for me, but that's with the reduction, obviously.
right and effective Purge is very similar in numbers. I think it's just slightly more expensive. Now I realize that's only 2,
Mm-hmm.
but regardless, um, it isn't cheap. There's a lot of sustained changes coming in. Even currently, I have to use Purge wisely, I should say. I just can't use it willy nilly.
Yeah.
And
But
is that on your Magi DK or I mean not your Magi DK, your Magi Templar
my
or yours?
Magplar when
Okay.
my Magplar when I'm healing for us, I'm running Purge. Like, fuck yeah.
Well. So what? So you're running
Um,
Purge, or what about the Purify? What's going on with the Purify?
I run both. So if I get hit with an in cap or something like this, like that affects me, I'll purify it or I'll throw it down as a hot for the group. But if I'm standing next to you guys right here and all three of us get hit with a Dawnbreaker or some Talons or something like that, I'll purge.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Um,
Yeah.
so now to kind of move on. Now that we've kind of addressed Fasalas, what are you guys thinking about Battlegrounds? Or are you excited? I know I'm excited about Battlegrounds. I'm tired of getting Zerg down in Cyrodiil. I think it needs to
Mm-hmm.
come to a stop. Um, but so what are you guys thinking on a whole with no CP in Battlegrounds? How does that make you guys feel? Ciphex, what do you think, man?
Well, I think there's still a lot of PvP dynamics that are yet to be determined, right?
Hmm.
Um, the different game modes encourage people to split up. One of the game modes that comes to mind, right? We know details on this, so I can talk about this. Say, you ever played Territories in Halo,
Oh
right?
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's like that, right? There's three teams and there's four flags around, right? So you can't stack all four people on one flag and just camp. Like it's impossible. You have to split up. Um, you have to move independently,
So
yet
so so they're pigeonholing
tactically.
so they're pigeonholing people into
Um,
1vx builds in Battlegrounds. Is that what I'm hearing? It's not going to be more of like group based builds.
I mean, it
I think it
depends.
would
Different,
depend upon the game mode, like a team deathmatch. Obviously, the map will come into play. Like I know there's
right?
one with lava based around it, so you'll see some builds with knockbacks there. Um,
And chain poles and stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, I think it's gonna be awesome because it will test a PvPer and it will uh, test their game mechanic knowledge and also their class knowledge. Simply by removing the CP, you have to know, and this is pretty basic. Hey, I can heavy attack to regain stamina, or a DK. I know I have more block or something like that. So you just have to know a little bit more about your class, like you kind of do when you play Azoras, JD, and you're still able to actually sustain.
Right. Um.
Um, something I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. What were you saying?
So something I think that's notable about Battlegrounds is that serial changes are pretty well non-existent. I think on the patch notes I saw like three changes. There were no changes to guards, which I think are overpowered and need updates. They're still running the old Eclipse. They're negating through line of sight. Different things like that. Anyway, um, you have Cyrodiil and IC, which it feels like Zos has abandoned and
Yeah.
just kind of moved on from. Cyrodiil, I mean, we've all talked about the death. People just run around the Emperor Keeps and push for scrolls. There's no real reason to go to the out branches. There's no real reasons to go to the little cities. You've got twice as much area unexplored and unutilized as you do the stuff that's actually utilized, and it's just the same battle scene over and over again. So I like that. While I like that Battlegrounds is supplying us with some fresh scenery and some new places to explore, I feel like there's a lot of untapped potential in Cyrodiil that they their time would be better spent like adjusting once they've implemented Battlegrounds, because I do like the idea of like a small scale area, but I think they would do a better job thinning people out. And it would probably help lag a lot too.
hmm So, what do you guys think that, this is the assumption that ZOS developers are attempting to um, balance PvP around a certain subset of players. Obviously, now they're going to have 2v2s, 4v4s, and so on and so forth. Um, how do you guys think that will actually affect their balance?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to say how it's going to affect balance because we don't know. We haven't really tested it enough yet. But the one
Mhm.
thing I can say that I think is happening right now, and I think I stressed this to you earlier, was I think that the game is getting more competitive. And I think they're starting to see that, and so they're starting to focus more on, okay, PVE is not our realm of we're going to make money, right? So they now know that they're going to make money off of PvP now that it's getting so just broad. And so I think they're trying to focus on, okay, well, how can we make our game more competitive? Because once we make our game more competitive, then it's going to go more mainstream. And so that's what I'm kind of sitting there thinking, okay, I'm looking at this whole thing and I'm going, okay, they're trying to make this go more mainstream. They want more competitiveness in their atmosphere, and they want to take this thing to pro leagues. And that's kind of what I'm seeing right now with
Mhm.
all the changes. And I really think that we're going in that direction. I don't know. What do you guys think?
For sure, I totally agree. I don't think it's going the direction of League of Legends, where it's going to be, of course, PvP only, but um, the sustainability pun of the game is obviously going to be based upon the PvPers because uh, I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel the PvE content in general usually is lacking and is very sparse compared to other MMOs. It takes the team quite a while to pump it out, but that's my opinion.
I mean, I I love the first experience of everything this game as far
Hmm.
as the PvE is concerned. My first maw clear, my first Maelstrom clear, right? Like even defeating Valkynscoria for the first time, right? Like that shit was not easy when I was a scrub. Um, but once you complete the content once, the PvE in the game becomes just a farm fest,
Right.
and
So
and
that
that, I mean,
I know
I
you probably
understand.
wanted to touch on this, JD, but like I really think that PVE should be giving a token system on gear because you can gain these tokens through PvP quests or something. Because I'm sick of PVE.
Yeah,
Like,
it's exactly. And I think that's the basis that Deltius was trying to touch on when he was talking about leaving the game. He's tired of farming. I watched his whole video on it, and I get it. The fact that
Hmm.
I have to go farm for BSW in order to do, whatever content I want to do, that's bullshit, dude. I should not have to
Yeah.
go in and continuously farm a dungeon in order to get gear that I need for PvP. Like that's ridiculous. And yeah, I understand they're like, oh well, we gave you bags now that you can buy, with AP to get overland sets. Okay, yeah, well,
it's a
overland sets are
band aid.
kind of, yeah, it's kind of null and void now. Like, I mean, what's the only good overland set I can use is Sun, and that's kind of like whatever. BSW is going to
But it's
perform
still
better.
based on RNG. It's still the same
Exactly.
RNG fucking farming crap. Like,
So what it comes down to is then now I have to farm AP and then go and buy these bags, which I do that daily anyways. But yeah, I mean, regardless, I mean, you're still coming into the factor of, okay, well, now I have to farm to get this. Where instead of saying, okay, well, you know, this guy can go in and he farms Telvar daily, and he buys alchemy mats or whatever and he sells them on the market. He gets gold. So why can't I buy every single set that is available in the game on the market? Why can I not do that? We don't need a global auction house. I don't see any reason for that. I like the system that's set up because the system that we have set up with the merchant is completely designed by keep, which is really cool. I like that aspect of the game, but I still want to be able
I
to
think
buy every
it's
set.
I think it's cool too. I know you weren't planning on talking economy or anything like that, but obviously I play the traders quite often. I usually
I've
make
done
over a
it as
million a
well.
week. Yeah. Um, I actually would prefer a centralized auction house, but maybe that's a topic for another video there.
Yeah, well, I did want to touch base on economy actually, and see what you guys thought about it. And me personally, I think that with my experience with Diablo 3, I feel like that if they add a global auction house, it's going to bring in this whole aspect to where now it's required. You know what I'm saying? Where now then it's going to bring in a whole line of, okay, well, this guy's selling this for this much, so I have to sell it for this much. You see what I'm saying? Whereas with
Mhm.
with the current way the merchant is set up, with the auction is set up or whatever, you can go from district to district and get good deals. And that's why I like the current system that we have in place, because it allows somebody to go out and shop. Whereas before, if you do a full global auction house, now you're completely getting rid of that ability to go out and shop. Now it's just, okay, well, I'm just going to sell 500 gold less than this guy or whatever. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like that point of view. That's pretty good.
I
Um,
think
Go ahead.
the well, so like you touched on like why can't we get like dungeon sets and stuff like that and sell those and whatnot. So monster sets, I don't think we should be able to sell, right? Like I guess I'm gonna just so
That's
that I don't say anything.
Monster,
Someone, you know,
Maelstrom, the stuff that's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
actually.
I just don't want to trigger anybody. It's a disclaimer, right?
Mm.
Like, but like everything else, though, I mean, trial sets used to be sellable. I think VO should be sellable to
absolutely,
PvPers that you
absolutely.
know what I mean. Like, um,
I mean, a PvPer is not going to go out and buy
I've
VO.
known.
It's not going to happen. I'm sorry.
Well, for Maelstrom, sure. And like Celerity, right? It's basically VO, but instead of Minor Slayer, it gives you maximum stamina. I think it's going to be a great set for stamina users to run next patch. I'm also considering
Hmm.
Marksman, but Celerity looks better, to be honest. Plus, you can have gold jewelry, so you guys
Woodman
might
there.
want to get you a set. But
I mean, but so
but
at the point where we look at trials in general, where they're like, okay, well, these sets are only available in trials now. So what we're gonna do to kind of counteract that, the fact that we made it to where you have to grind it, is now we're gonna give you 1,000 gold for completing the trial, or whatever whatever the gold is now for completing a vet trial, and it's kind of like, okay, well,
yeah,
that's kind of a slap in the face. When before
it
I could
really
get,
was.
yeah, I could get gold jewelry and I could go sell it on the market for a decent price and get me some decent gold. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, this currency's real. Like, I know it's not, a full blown money currency, but it's what we use to play in the game. And these are hours that
Hmm.
we spend in the game, which is essentially us making money in the game in order to play the game. So allow us that
Mhm.
ability. Don't take that away from us. That's bullshit.
I mean,
Um,
like a lot of the reason um why I even farm and I see like just like lobies and shit like that is just so that I can make Telvar to buy spell power pots so I can run Maelstrom. Like just so that I can farm some more content for these assholes to give me another charged lightning staff. Like
Yeah, we
piss
need
off.
we
I'm
need to
just
we need to get away from the farm atmosphere. This is not WoW.
Maybe.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean
it's a
I
new
want
day
to
Well,
and
just
age.
enjoy
even
the game.
even they have like a token system that's you can do this set amount of content, or you can PvP for so long and turn in tokens, and you get a piece of gear. Um,
Mhm.
so that I believe even WoW is a step ahead. Obviously, I mean they're what
I mean,
2000
A bit
since
older.
yeah, they're a
2006.
lot
Yeah.
older than this
So
game, and unfortunately, I feel like the devs of this game are not keeping up with the times,
well,
man. It's like,
in MMO, you have to keep your player base grinding. Um, from a business perspective, if you give them everything they want,
Mhm.
you're going to
Right.
lose your customers. Um,
You gotta keep them
but
playing.
yeah, but the thing is like they have great potential to do that within a competitive atmosphere in PvP. Um,
Hmm.
I-
yeah,
it's there.
at
I
least
just think the token system needs to come.
I agree. At least add something for PvPers. Like, let us get away from PvE. Eventually, somebody who's done so much PvE content, we're just gonna finally get to the point where we're like, all right, fuck it, I'm done. I don't want to PvE anymore. I've had enough. I want to go PvP, and I want to be able to get the gear that I need to get in order to play the content in PvP. But so
And I'm there, man. Like,
yeah, exactly.
oh, sorry. Go.
So what I was
Well,
saying was I wanted to kind of touch base too on Warden, and see what you guys thought about Warden. I mean, where do you think the class is solid? I know you can't release too many details, but what do you think overall?
um, It seems
I
like they. Yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead, man, Mr. NDA.
Yeah, Mr. NDA over here. What do you think? What do you think about Warden? Don't release too much, but what do you think is what do you think Warden's in a good spot? Too OP? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I won't say anything about that, but I'll say that you can tell that they had a very clear direction that they wanted to go with Warden,
Okay.
and I think that exactly kinds of builds that people want to make out of it, the kinds of builds that you're gonna see. I think with the max stat changes, people aren't gonna be running necropotence like they thought they were. So that's gonna be funny to see a lot of people that dropped a lot of gold on necropotence get triggered. But
Well, yeah, that's
anyway,
how I
what were
made
you
like a
gonna say?
million. I made like a million on necropotence this week.
Yeah.
If you're watching this, don't buy it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I've made my money off
oh
off
man.
of necropotence. Buying it low and selling it high. All right, do not buy that set, man. That
Do
set
not
is.
buy it.
Um. Anyways, so in
Anyway, yeah.
we touched base on changes to Templar. I don't know. Do you think they're balanced, or like I know that you guys both play Templar, and what do you think? I mean, do you think it's balanced changes, or do you think they need to go back to the drawing board?
So when I first started playing Templar as healer, I did main healing, and then it suddenly was discovered that Templar needs to be heals and support, and then it went to heals and DPS for a little while. Like there's been whole lot of evolution to the class, which I have enjoyed, to be honest. And now that they're taking synergies away, I feel like I need something to replace it. The same cooldown on shards and orbs. What am I gonna do there? Like, tell me, Ciphex, what am I gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, so this goes back, I guess, to the class identity thing, like you said. Templar has always been the paladin, like the holy knight, so to speak. So
Mm-hmm.
repentance, like I am so
It's
mad
garbage now,
about
though. Yeah,
repentance
yeah,
train
it's garbage.
change. Like it's um yeah, like that was like you said, it's a support thing.
User left
It's
your channel.
there's I mean another one of those skill based things when you're fighting and there are Templars that you're fighting against and somebody dies, there needs to be a competition to get the repentance.
So
Now
my opinion is
there's less
with
incentive for me to run it.
so
But
my
anyway.
opinion is that like I take a lot of pride in healing. You two know that.
Mhm.
Like I love
Same.
to heal in this game. This is the only game I've ever liked to heal in. Uh, they're taking away some of the class identity simply because you still have great heals, whatever. That's been established. But your support, they're like diminishing your supportive. I don't see them. Admittedly, you can roll dodge talons now, and you get a 2-second immunity. Um, I don't see them taking 4% extra block damage away from DKs or some mitigation away, which is tanking, or any other ways of increasing damage to the group players or around you or something like that. Like I just hope it doesn't go in the wrong direction, and they keep removing support from the main healing class in the game, just to get other classes into that role, just to make them somewhat viable.
Yeah, but so how would you feel
Yeah.
about, adding more support roles to other classes instead of, removing more from the main support role? Where, that way we can kind
I
of
think it's
balance out support.
I think it's a bad deal. I mean, that you could also, and this would be a very simple fix in my opinion, is to add a third morph to skills. You would add a lot of variety.
I could actually probably get on board with that, honestly. I don't think I'd be too aggravated. I mean, I have been saying forever that they just need to add a stam morph of every ability in the game. I think that would be a great change that has been overlooked for a
Indeed.
long time.
And then hyper builds, I think, would even be
Oh,
viable in that
absolutely.
sense.
Yeah, because right now hybrid builds they're almost non-existent, and I think that they keep adding these sets where they're like trying to push people into being a hybrid build, but it's like, okay, well give us more incentive. We need more. We need a morph that's going to allow me to be a hybrid build.
Mhm.
Instead of pigeonholing us into, okay, well, I got to, stack in this certain stat in order to even be close to a hybrid build. So,
What do you think, Ciphex?
yeah, what do you think?
But I guess repeat the question. I was listening mid-core I lost track of the question.
A third, if they added a third morph, most abilities, like say, so puncturing sweeps, there's a magical morph, there's a standard morph, but what if there was a morph that used both resources, or that would benefit a hybrid, or I don't know. Is there ability in the game that only has two? Okay, Wrecking Blow. What if it had a magic morph all of a sudden?
Right.
Like, that would add so much crazy aspects of the game.
Stamina crushing shock. Like, I don't know about all that. I don't know. That's I would have to see what these morphs were and what they did. I mean, that's a lot of potential to fuck a lot of things up.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
saying.
for sure.
It would.
The way
I think
the
it
way
would make
these guys do
it would
things,
make
I don't
most
know.
builders go back to the drawing board. I think they'd be like, okay, well, what can I do now?
I'm kind of there with
game,
Warden, honestly.
This game was built around being able to do your own thing.
Right. Exactly.
That's why I don't like the idea of cookie cutter builds and me running across the same builds in Cyrodiil all the time. Like, I don't want to do it. I think more complexity needs to be added to the class system, with all classes, because I'd rather every person I run across was unique. I don't want to see you rally and dodge roll and run off.
Right, exactly. I want to see you stand your ground and fight and be like, okay, I believe in my build. But then that comes down that comes down to a builder thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 90% of those
situational
builds,
too.
90% of the builds that we find out in Cyrodiil are going to be, oh, well, somebody went and watched this video, and this is the next best thing, so let me put it on. That's a lot of it, and we're never going to get away from that. So cookie cutter is always going to be there. But
no, take it away.
I don't like the fact that right now we're pigeonholed into a certain amount of builds, and that's. I think they tried to address that last patch when they released so many sets. Was they tried to address the fact that we're pigeonholed, and I think that's what that whole thing was about. But so, anyways, I want to kind of move on from that. I want to talk about the major mending nerf. What are you guys thinking? What are your thoughts on it? I don't really think the DK nerf to Igneous Shield's that big of a deal. Maybe for Stam DK, not so much for Mage DK. If I'm having to spam Igneous Shield, there's an issue anyways. But what are you guys thinking of along the terms of Templar? What are you thinking?
So, I want to touch on the DK thing real quick. So I think actually the opposite of you about the effect. I think the major mending change will like just the major mending aspect of it will affect Magicka DK more than Stamina DK, and the reason for that is Stamina DK relies on hot, rally, and vigor, whereas Magicka DK relies on heals. With as small of a shield as Igneous Shield is, it doesn't stay up for long. So most likely you're not going to activate Rally with Igneous Shield up unless you Igneous Shield around line of sight. The same goes for a Burning Ember or an Inhale or a Battle Roar, whatever your ult is, or a Dragon Blood. I mean,
keep in mind the nerf to block though. So this is the big thing. So it's going to be easier for me to cast an Igneous Shield and then hit a, coagulating blood in the same time that I'm blocking than it will be for a Stam DK to hit Igneous Shield and hit Vigor and get the complete heal off of Vigor.
Well,
so
it's going to be gone pretty quick anyway, but you're getting a few ticks of heals.
Well, no, but so
you would pop Vigor before you Igneous Shielded.
Right.
You would want the hot rolling while the Igneous Shield is up, because you don't know how long, and you'd probably dodge cancel the Igneous Shield so that it stays up just a little bit longer. You know what I mean? And you're
And
getting stamina back
and
anyway.
and for me, I mean, I'm
But
still gonna get the same burst heal off of Igneous Shield that I normally would, just because I'm gonna hit Igneous Shield while holding block, and it's still gonna mitigate some damage and keep me from getting hit a few times while I'm casting that coagulating blood. So I'm still gonna hit it while that shield's still up, and that's the thing. Now, if I got 20 people on me, then I mean, I'm already just in a shit situation, and I should probably just think about what I'm
Hmm.
doing at that point.
yeah, I keep
I think
thinking
it's just
back
gonna
to
make you.
last night when we were on the port for like 5 minutes with like 20 people beating on just the two of us, and it was just you on that character, my Magplar, and like it was like I was never really stressed for my resources
No, not at all.
or healing, or there was never a lack of heals. Especially I was running Troll King, like
Yeah.
they were never gonna kill us. Like,
Yeah, it just came down to the point where, okay, well, how, eventually we're gonna just get overwhelmed, and that's what happened. We just had more and more people pouring through the doorway, where it's finally like,
well,
all right, we need to
well, we
go
wanted
inside.
to set up a turn and burn offense with a little bit of siege. That was a whole nother. But I'm just talking about on the porch, right? Like there was never a lack of healing going on ever, and it was just so much healing for two people to out heal. In Cyrodiil, the battle spirit where healing is cut in half. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it's exactly. and
It's
and but I mean, that does come down to a point though where, like, we have to really look at, okay, major mending in general is an issue. It really is. Like, major mending is a problem. The fact that I can have it up for 4 seconds, man, I can. You know how many fucking coagulating bloods I can cast in a 4 second period, dude, with block cancel? Come on, bro.
yeah.
Like,
Well, and
I'll be at
something
full
else to
health
know on my
long after that 4 seconds is gone.
on something else that I think is notable on my healer. So I'm an Argonian, right? So I get 5% healing done, right? And then the CP tree, so the Argonian passive wasn't touched, but I run 100 Elfborn, 100 Blessed, and those values got devalued as well. So while I lost Major Mending, I also lost some healing potential through CP. Um, I'm also running the Thief friendly, so I'm getting tons of crit heals as well. That's probably going to change. Um, so I mean, overall, my healing numbers will suffer a lot. I'm not going to be able to do what we did last night. The two of us aren't going to be able to stand in the middle of 20 people like it ain't no thing,
Right.
you know?
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
You shouldn't be. Yeah, you shouldn't be able to. Like,
yeah,
this
no,
You
you
is.
really
shouldn't.
shouldn't.
That's
You really shouldn't.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like,
and
we were
we
talking
were
about that
saying that while
while
we
we
were
were doing
doing
it,
it.
actually.
We were like, yeah, this
Very,
is
very
not.
casually having a conversation
Yeah,
about it.
we're sitting there
Yeah,
tanking 20 people, and we're going, wow, this is balanced. Like, this is so.
yeah, yeah.
It's like, come on, Zos. Like,
We're,
where did you think this
weren't
was a
we in
good idea?
Azuras?
No, no,
We're,
no. We
weren't
were
we
in
in Azuras?
No,
Oh,
we were in Hatteras. We were in Hatteras.
oh,
And
that's right.
and
That's
then
right.
when we
That's
went to
right.
Azura's, it was light armor and the same thing. It's just like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. I mean, I don't know. And I still want to touch base on the DK nerfs. I know there's a lot of people out there going, oh my God,
Oh
DK is
yeah.
getting a big nerf. DK is not going to be playable next patch. No, guys, it is. Okay. Battle Roar. If you're I'm going to say this straight out. If you're relying on Battle Roar as your only sustain, there's a problem, okay? You're spamming too much. You need to be thinking about what abilities you're using, and you need to stop using those abilities over and over and over again. You need to start thinking about, okay, well, what can I put on this guy that's going to keep me alive? Or what can I put on this guy that I'm going to burst him down in 3 hits? You have to start thinking about these things, and that goes for every class. And that's really where we come back to sustain. I know we beat sustain into the ground until it was a dead horse, but I want to bring it up again. The sustain changes are not bad. They're needed, guys, and we need these in PvP for PvP to be healthy again. PvP is so unhealthy. It's not fun. I don't like sitting there fighting, 2 people that take an hour and a half to kill. I don't want to do that over and over again anymore. And I'm pretty sure Ciphex and Core are on board with me with that. Like, I want good PvP. I want to fight people and I want to die. And I want to fight and I want to die. I want to fight and I want to die. Like, I don't want to sit there and fight and never die. That's ridiculous, man. That's ridiculous. I don't know. I
It,
mean,
it it's fun at first, dude, but then like I don't know. I had that one. I still need to upload the video footage. Like same 6 pack of people, they came back like 7 times in this one resource, and it gets boring after a while, dude. Like,
yeah.
but then
Yeah.
I had a fight on my Stam DK earlier with that Nightblade that you were out there for, and that was so much more fun than that because that guy made me learn my class a little bit better. Um, I don't know. It's all about self improvement, I guess, too. But
And
whatever.
just like Ishkashi said in my chat, you know, like sitting and holding block, doing no damage, about time it gets nerfed. I agree, man. You know, it really is about time. Unfortunately, me being a Magic DK, I'm gonna take a hit from that, but it's whatever. You know, like seeing what Stam DKs can do. Um, it you put Stam DK in the hands of a good player, and it is so overpowered. It needed to be addressed, and I'm finally happy that it's getting addressed. And then Templar, man, I'm sorry. I know you guys play Templar. I know you guys love your Templar, but I'm so happy it's finally getting addressed. I'm getting tired of jumping on a
Hmm.
Templar and taking 12 people to take him down. It's ridiculous.
Oh. Hey, so something that I think is notable at Templar. So we were talking about class identity and the shard change and stuff like that. I
Right.
think they need to give the group utility back to shards and repentance, right? I think taking those away from Templar is the wrong thing. I want to see something happen with Beam. Because I know I've played with you a bit, and you notice when I use beam, those little fuckers that dodge roll away, they don't get away. I'm a
Right.
healer. I'm running 100 blessed. I've got no damage, and um, I mean I realize it's an execute. It's a 28-meter undodgeable execute. Like
Maybe,
Hmm.
just a panel
what if
dot.
we make it a projectile?
Like
What if we make it a projectile and we add that attribute into the game where we say, okay, well, a stamina build that's running sword and board can run reflect and reflect beam back at the caster. I mean, what if we add that aspect into the game? You know,
I think honestly, so I've given this a lot of thought because I've talked about this with a lot of people, right? And I think what needs to happen with Beam is it needs to have something like when you hard cast a frag, right? You need to charge it up, but then when you actually cast it, it can still be a beam, right? Like a crushing shock. They can't dodge it or something like that, but it's not a dot. It's one tick. They might adjust the damage, right? So it's maybe a little bit more damage for one tick, but it's only one tick, and there's like a 1 second cast time
yeah.
or a
So
two
you're
second
talking
cast time
no.
or something like that.
Essentially let's make it like a Mage's Wrath, where instead of it, it's an instant cast ability. You drop it on somebody, and that's that. Like instead of having Purifying Light, why don't we make that the ability, and then make Beam its own ability in itself instead of an execute? Because an undodgeable execute.
You already have sweeps, which is the main
I
DPS. I
know,
mean, it's
I
yeah.
know,
So
man. It's rough, but like,
Yeah,
I
it's a
mean,
hard thing to balance, though, man. I mean, when you really sit down and think about
and
it,
that and
it's
that's why I
I think
suggest what
Cyphex
I
is going
do.
in the right direction because players, mobility's bad. Um, Generally speaking, unless you gear in different ways, I suppose. Uh, that would still give you a range execute, but at the same time, putting you at a slight disadvantage to get the execute. Um, I'd like that, especially if it's reflectable and everything too. Just give it some downsides instead of complete upsides and so much damage.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yes, they address the fact that like, okay, well, beam's not as much. It doesn't deal as much damage at 100% health. Yeah, it was dealing too much. Okay, 2 and 3,000 ticks at 100% health. That's way too much fucking damage. Okay, that's retarded. Um, but still, I mean, then you deal with invisible beam issues where it's like, okay, well now I'm getting hit with 2 ticks I can't even see and I'm just dead. you know, or things like that. You know, it's like okay, well let's deal with the issue at hand, and instead of making it a beam, let's make it a projectile where you throw something at somebody, but it can be reflected. You know, I mean, because we still have to think about this as a support class. This is not a DPS class. You know, and so we have to think about it like, okay,
Well, I mean, it is, right? Like,
no, but I mean, it was
it
primarily
is.
intended for a support role, and that's where
Third
we,
morph.
yeah,
Third morph, motherfucker.
but that's where we
Yeah.
addressed the same problem that we came into a year ago, where they buffed Templar, and I was like, guys, we're now giving a healing class the ability to do damage. Where do we not see the problem? You see what I'm saying? Like,
Well, I mean, like, let's also think about Stamplar, right? Like, not healers, right? I don't think that you should exclude. So like, while let's look at stamina DK, right? A couple of patches ago, I believe it was Dark Brotherhood. Um, they were like top single target DPS. I think it was even one Tamriel. Um, like I saw a blood spawn that was 74 from a stamina DK. It's fucking ridiculous. But like I said earlier, if you're tanking and you're not a stamina DK, like, you're doing it wrong. So I mean, I don't know why that wouldn't apply to Magicka Templar as well. Because it is a really fun class, especially to DPS on. My Magicka Templar originally ran Alchemist and Julianos. I was like a ganking Argonian that was trolling the shit out of people, like spamming Dark Flare and shit. Dude, it was so good.
I guess we'll have
But
to
I
see
digress. Yeah.
where the healing will come into play, because now you won't be able to heal as much through puncturing sweeps, so we won't have those situations where I can tank like 6 to 10 people just by sitting my focus and sweeping them.
yeah,
And then
these things are
Yeah,
dev, and I agree with this costume. I mean, he even posted in chat, they didn't need a nerf, and I mean they didn't need a buff. I agree. Stam didn't need a buff either. Purifying light broken, needs to be adjusted. Unblockable, that's bullshit. Now you're making it undodgeable, that's even more bullshit. These things need to be adjusted. And so where I think
what about Eclipse?
Eclipse next patch, I don't know, man. I think there's gonna need to be
Mhm.
an answer to Sork, man. Honestly, Sork is way too fucking strong, dude.
That was my first thought, was I can finally kill a mag sword.
Right. It's
Like,
I mean, so I have a problem with it giving CC immunity. I think I don't like the break free not happening and still giving CC immunity. It's the same issue that I have with chains, right? Like, you don't stun somebody and you give them CC immunity.
well,
So
okay,
I think-
okay, but
I mean,
see, when you cast Eclipse, though, they get eclipsed no matter what, and then after the duration, they have a 7-second immunity. But through that entire duration, keep in mind, the only things they can cast is going to be Mage's Wrath, Curse, and Crushing Shock. Frag is not going to be able to be thrown at all during that entire duration, which is fucking huge, man. Like, I can't tell you how many times I get hit by just random frags that really piss me the fuck off. Because there's some asshole in the back line spamming some kind of frag ability, whether it's Crystal Frag or Crystal Blast, and man, I would love to see him get eclipsed. I would love to see him get eclipsed and just beat himself
I
in the
think
face. It would make my day.
I think it's also notable that you aren't saying, "Man, now I can eclipse that Magicka Nightblade." And I think of that poor Magicka Nightblade that's Destro Restro that now is gonna swallow soul himself to death or hit himself with an assassin's will or something like that. And it's like, you're already like just the nerfed into the ground class, and now you can't even like hit Contemplars ever.
Well,
But-
so my question
he should be
is,
approaching the Templar out of stealth though, so
my
Templar
question
shouldn't know
is,
to immediately.
my question is
Yeah.
when the fuck is Sork gonna see some hate? I know they saw some hate a year ago with the nerf to shields, okay, and I get that.
And before that, there was even Streak as
Yeah.
well. Like, don't forget, it got nerfed a little bit.
But I mean, now we're at the same problem that Zos goes through every time they buff something. Now we deal with the overbuff. And then they're like, oh, well, let's buff them again. Okay? So we just dealt with this with Templar. Now we're dealing with this with Magsork. So it's like, okay, Zos, when are you going to learn that once you overbuff something, don't buff it again? You should probably nerf it. You see what I'm saying? Like, we're dealing with that same issue. So, like, okay, Haunting Curse, we're going to buff it. And we're going to buff it to Haunting Curse. Now we're going to get another buff. And we're just going to leave it where it's at. And I understand that with the sustain changes that, Sork's going to take a pretty big hit. They are going to take a big hit with the changes to sustain because shields cost a shitload of mana. They do. Magicka is ridiculous on a shield. But they still put out too much damage.
Amber Plasm, dude. And then run Dark Conversion.
There you go. Already nailed it right on the head. Yep.
Yeah, I mean...
Fosso, fucking scrub. Yeah.
But, I mean, have you two fought, like, Max Sork running Pirate Skeleton? Like, it's...
Yeah.
It's fucking stupid.
Yeah. Well,
and only got a 1% nerf.
Everybody's survivability is pretty stupid, to be honest.
Yeah.
I still think that... nah. Like, who was I fighting with earlier? Dank. We went out with Dank and, going through Cyrodiil or whatever. It was usually me, him, and JD left alive. I would die, and I would see all the guys switch over to Dank, and he's just shield stacking. He's got supreme amount of burst, and here I am with my Stam DK hybrid that I hit like a wet noodle in. And, like, I can't kill those guys behind me, but Dank can actually get away from them, streak away, and turn around and burn them.
Right, yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
he's been playing that class longer than I have, but I just think you have too much things in one class. You have too much defense. You have too much defense. Too much defense. Too much offense. And too much evasion. Being able to get away from.
So why don't we address the idea with why don't we allow critting to shields? I don't see an issue with that. I'm sorry. Say that again.
No, it's been brought up. It's been brought up several times. I think it's an interesting idea. If shields are critable, then you should be able to cast a shield and have it crit.
That should crit, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, get a shield.
But that would be OP as crap. Like,
I want to address.
Well, if you could crit them.
I want to address this real quick. So Ishkashi, I know that everybody's playing Stamplar right now because Power of Light's so strong. But to be realistic, and I'm not saying that Stamplar is not overpowered. They are overpowered right now, but
it's just fun.
Sork is just over the top, dude. I'm sorry. They have everything you could possibly want in a class, dude. Everything. They can tank.
Mm-hmm.
They can
they even have roots.
Burst. It's ridiculous.
Stamplar
they
is
even have roots, man.
comparably
It's crazy.
shit. Yeah.
I mean, Stamplar. Let's
jumped.
give it to him. Stamplar's got the Purify. They can dodge roll. They can, they got the fucking. I mean, come on, man. They got a really good kit. But when it comes down to it, the class that's on top and has been on top for the longest time when it comes to DPS is fucking Sork. Even when they nerfed the shields, all they did was just get rid of shitty Sorks. Like, good Sorks were still OP. It didn't change nothing. Like, if you were a good Sork, all you had to do was cast your shields more. And that's all that was happening. But if you're a good Sork, you're going to be up there in the fight anyways. You're not going to be out at a point where you're going to be running out a 20-second shield in the first place. You're going to be in the fight, fighting people. And so that's where it comes down to. Sork is still overpowered, has been overpowered for a long time, and I think it comes down to the fact that Robo is a main Sork. End of story. I don't know. Maybe you guys agree. Maybe
I don't know about Robo.
That's what I hear.
I don't know about Robo.
I mean, that's what I hear. I hear Robo's
I've always
a main
stayed
Sork.
away from those conversations about developers playing one class or another because I try to believe in humans as much as I can.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. Sork's
in a good spot.
Sork's
man.
probably
It needs to be taken down.
It's probably BIS in most situations. Like, for instance, Horror, the #1 EU guild, I think they're #1 world raid guild. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
they run 7 Mage Sorc DPS and 1 Mage DK, and that's only for engulfing flames. And then you got your 2 tanks and your 2 healers. But um, if you look at Ark plays Sorc, you look at Jaeger plays Sorc, you look
Yeah.
at Fosso, Cody, like any of them play Mage, even Jules. And I mean, I don't want to like say anything that's gonna trigger anybody, but like I've beaten Jules 1-on-1 pretty easily, but I'm gonna leave that at that. Like Sork is just so user friendly. It's
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. I think to like German, like seeing German and German and Jourdain 2v1'd me with like 300 CP, and I was on my fucking Stam Sork. Like, I mean, it's wild. Don't get me wrong, but like they had half the CP as me, but it's just 2 Mage Sorks. And I think a lot of it, honestly, is healing ward more than anything.
So,
Like the two
Yeah,
Sork
it
shields I
allows
think are
them to
there, but
sit
I
behind two
think
shields
healing
and then heal
ward.
off of it. Yeah.
so let me let
Yeah, I
me
think
let me
healing ward is the real strong aspect. But yeah,
let me
go on.
address this with Ish. So Ish said that if people are able to crit my shields, then my shields should be higher. No, I disagree with that. And this is why I disagree with that, because you're the only fucking class in the game that can run full divines in PvP and not get completely fucked up. Okay? And the way I see it
Mm-hmm.
is that you should be running in pin just like everyone else. But because you have a shield that gives you 100% in pin mitigation, you don't have to do that.
Well,
And
you
that's
don't
a
have to,
problem.
but a lot of Sorks are.
Yeah, but
A
any
lot of
good
If
sorts,
you
yeah,
every,
will
if you
still
look
run in
at
pin.
like yeah,
every
they're
good
running Impen in this
every
patch.
good sork in the
Like
fucking game, all the best sorks in the game are running divines, dude. They are, because
I
they can
mean,
run. They can run, dude. This is what it comes down to. If you can keep your shields up properly and well enough, just talk to Dark. Dark, that's all he runs, full divines. Talk to Jaeger,
yeah,
it's
but
full
I mean,
divines.
I'm talking.
But you're now, like, for me, for instance, I run Impin on my Sork, but I'm at a disability because I'm not running Thief and Divines. And that's because I refuse to play along with the fact that Sork is OP as fuck. And I don't like to have my shields up all the time. I want to fight people and let people take my health down. I want to go in there and act like
When
I'm actually fighting instead of being a total
there are
show.
other Sorks that play that way, like Cody plays full Impen and he plays very offensive. Illyria, Catterley. Um,
Yeah,
there
yeah.
are a lot of great Mage Sorks that run Impen. Jourdain even.
But I'm just saying that even the fact that you have the ability to run full divines because you have a shield that gives you 100% crit mitigation is an issue.
Yeah.
It is an
Well,
issue because it
I think the solution is what I said. I think that you just like it should be based on your spell critical, right? I don't think your oh yeah no and your crit modifier, right? Like everything else.
yeah,
Um, the the issue in that though is consistency. Um, and I think that so that's I guess the logical argument against it would be consistency because then what about your physical and spell resistance? Because the whole reason to having shields is to negate the fact that I don't have much resistance, so I'm just artificially inflating my health pool.
yeah, exactly.
Like
What they need to do is they
Mm.
need to make shields instead of being
I think
adjusted.
it'd be, I think it'd be a very bad idea, and there's the reason why. I'm working on a heavy tack DK build, so I have, if I get around 75% crit, and I just shield stack on him with what is it, Absorb Magica or whatever, Damping Magica. Um, I'm gonna be able to sit behind that shield, that big ass fucking shield, and heavy attack you for 40k. Like that's just
Exactly.
not gonna work.
And so what they need to do is my idea with shields is instead, like, let's make them critable, but let's make the shield, let's adjust the shield to where they have no mitigation right now, so they take full damage. Okay, which I understand that. So instead of making them take full damage, let's go ahead and add the aspect whereas, okay, well, instead of allowing them to take full damage, let's go ahead and give them the same mitigation that say whatever armor I'm wearing is the same mitigation my shield's going to get. And we'll take away the full crit ability of it. So whatever mitigation you have, let's say if you're
Hmm.
running full 7 in pin with light, then it's going to get the same mitigation your light armor is going to get you. Does that make sense?
I think it'll be in line with the whole soft caps thing they're starting to bring back, with gaining resources based on max level as well.
There will be more changes coming to the PTS
For
soon.
sure.
I think they said the 14th or something. Here, let me see. It's on their thing. It's a big banner.
I really like that idea though, JD. That'd be pretty good for the change. A good change.
I think it would just give shields the same exact mitigation that armor gives. I want to touch base real quick before we get out of here. The last thing I want to touch base on is poisons, man. I think they need to be removed from the game. I mean, that's just me.
Same.
I think that was the worst thing they ever
Okay,
added.
so here's, I guess, my honest take on poisons, right? That like every positive effect that a reagent has an antithesis somewhere in it. Up until the introduction of poisons, it was just there to counter certain overpowered combinations of potions, right? With the introduction of poisons, though, you can utilize those against your enemy, and that, I think, it adds a certain element, right? Me personally, I like the drain health poison. I'm not a big fan of the cost poison. I've considered running it just to be a chode, but I don't really want to.
You run cost poison, and with the reduction changes and everything, you're saying
it's over. If
it's gonna be stupid.
Somebody runs cost
your light
poison.
attacks and heavy attacks will also take away people's regeneration as well. Take away their magicka.
Yeah,
and
because they're adding that into CP
yeah.
as well. So let's add
The
these two
Siphoner
together.
passive,
Let's
yeah.
add these two together. If they stack, dude, it's gonna be a serious fucking issue, man. I mean, you already get hit with a poison. If you get hit with a fucking regen poison inside of Azura's, you're fucked, dude. And then you add that into CP as well. Oh man, that's over the top.
I think the solution to Ravage Magic or Ravage Stamina would be to put it more in line with something like Seducer or Celerity. Put it at 8%. 30% still too strong. I'm okay with the idea of a cost poison. It, I guess, makes sense for the Ravage Magic and Ravage Stamina.
But just lower proc chance.
Lower the proc chance, or just lower the amount. I think that 60% is too high.
Or
why don't we do like a 10 or a 15%? Well, I mean, why is that an issue? I think 10 or 15 would be a really stable point.
Here's another idea, right? Not buff sets like Seducer or Alteration Mastery or Celerity or other sets that give you cost reduction. Why nerf poisons? Why not buff? Because there's stripping cost reduction. But then you incentivize people to run sustain sets and give up damage.
But we're already getting put in that situation where now we have to run a sustain set. There's no way around that. Next patch, we're gonna have to run them, whether we like it or not. And so what I'm thinking is,
do you remember 1.6 builds?
No, like, but so if you
fucking Seducer and Warlock.
But this is not what you're seeing. But if you buff them to that point, then we're gonna run into the same fucking problem we're running into this patch, where if we just reduce the amount of cost that it reduces or it raises on the poison, I think we'd be in a good spot. Whereas if we buff these sets, then we're going to run into the same fucking problem where we have people with too much fucking sustain, and that's what we're trying to get away from. So instead of doing that, let's just go ahead and nerf poisons too along the board. Because poisons are too overpowered anyways, let's go ahead and nerf them. Let's calm them down. And not so much like damage poisons, they're kind of whatever. But more or less the sustain poisons, I think they need a nerf. Man, I think they just need a nerf across the board. 60's too much, man. It's too much.
The snare plus root poison is also pretty fucking mean. I'm gonna say like of all the poisons,
Yeah.
that's like the nastiest one that I've run into.
But I mean, I don't know, man. I think
I could deal with a cost poison.
when it comes to the cost poison, man, and I'm 1VXing, boy, there's nothing more that pisses me off. I could deal with the root poison, but you fucking hit me with that cost poison, oh, I'm pissed, man.
Do you know how many cost poisons I got hit with on that bridge last night?
I have no
You don't
idea.
even know.
Well, yeah, but
You
you're
don't
running
even know. Like,
insane
I could
region, man. Come on.
And
Purify.
purify.
Shut up.
Yeah, the fuck, you shut
Yeah,
the fuck
but
up.
it's
All right,
also
then.
like I get 60% cost increase to my
So
fucking
what you're telling me
purify,
is then I just
just
need
saying,
to run
like-
Weird Tree all next patch. All right, got it. All right, we're
you
good.
just need to run purge or like get good. I think that's the solution, Jay. You just need to get good.
All right, fuck it, man. I gotta get good at some point.
Or you need me to come heal you and carry you through the Zergs.
That's right, baby. When you coming, man? I need your help. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up ESO talk for tonight. We're gonna be here next Saturday. So I may or may not have Ciphex and Core with me next Saturday, but I'm gonna try and bring on either Nefas and Jaeger. I want to bring those guys in here. I want to kind of get some points on the PVE and kind of address those different things. Ishkashi, I'd really like to get you in here one day. But yeah, the guys, I want to thank you a lot for viewing, and I want to try and blow this thing up, man. I want to do this every week so we can kind of, get something going on with, what's happening in ESO and kind of keep everybody updated. So thanks for watching, and you guys have a wonderful night. I will see y'all next Saturday.